As I mentioned earlier, I've been conducting risk assessment in the context of emergencies in the field. The last examples where we have done investigations in the field were in Angola, which was in 2008. So the event appeared as an event of unknown etiology, so the doctors on the ground were not familiar with the signs and symptoms. They asked for toxicological assistance. We sent a team in and we did a number of investigations, including collecting samples, urine and blood samples. This was a mix of environmental epidemiological investigations and classical risk assessment methodology, how we use them in chemical safety. The challenges on the ground were really that although we collected blood and urine samples, we had no laboratories in the country. We had to send them out to laboratories in the Western world. That is a very challenging part, starting from collecting the samples to getting them through customs, to identifying laboratories in the Western world, accepting them, to analyze them on a short notice and feed us with the information. We have been to other countries. In Mongolia, for example, there was a chemical accident where we knew it was related to gold mining, and there was a release of a mix of substances, including mercury and cyanide and so on and so forth. The very challenging part here was that it was in a very politically sensitive information. So as a result of that, there was a high mistrust in the local population, local government. And as a result of that, international community was mobilized to do neutral assessments. We were mainly surrounded by cameras and TV, every night on TV, and every party presented its own version of the thing, depending upon how they looked at it. In addition, it was really multidisciplinary and multi-sectoral. So it was the health sector, with the animal health sector, with the environmental sector, with the food sector. So emergency people were involved. So to give you a feeling, at the end we were a team of about 60 people in the field, involving all the different disciplines and sectors. Apart from the risk assessments in the field, as I said, we have done a lot of capacity building activities. And there we have developed case studies for training. I might give over to my colleague.
I think probably the main points are that when trying to do risk assessment for a chemical event is that there are a lot of unknowns, and it takes a lot of time to find the information that you need to do the risk assessment. So we often are, sometimes by the time we are informed and our assistance is requested, the chemical has already been and gone. And there may not be anything even left to measure in the people, but they will, then, as Kirsten said, finding the laboratory is very time consuming. So it can be quite a complicated, drawn out process, at the end of which you may not even have a very firm answer. Yeah. And as Kirsten was saying, when you have a politically charged situation, people don't want to hear that you don't have an answer. They want to hear that you have an answer. So I think that's. I think it's easier to diagnose an infectious disease than it is to identify a chemical cause, and to then assess what the risk of that is, because of the huge number of chemicals that there might be, the lack of laboratories.
Yeah. So we have mentioned the laboratories. That is challenging to identify the laboratories. We know about laboratories, but the most challenging part is that the laboratories accept the samples and analyze them on time. That is very critical, because these are usually laboratories set up for other purposes. If they get now 100 samples in, and sometimes they have to add some research to it. For example, they can analyze something in bananas, but not in soil. So that would require some research. So it's some effort by the laboratories, and that should be set up beforehand in principle. And John, I think you agree that the clinical toxicological expertise which is in the world is not that big. So basically, if we had many chemical events in a row, we cannot come back to always the same people. Yeah, our expertise, we're talking about a few people only who we can mobilize and who can act also even on behalf of WHO in such an emergency setting.